Where you look? Okay, we're on now. Yo, we're going to be moving right along, keeping this thing going this morning. Again, thanks to Dame Allison Peacock for getting us started. We're going to follow it up and just keep this thing right on pepping, y'all. We have next Dr. Rachel Payne. Rachel is the immediate past president of the National Society of Education and Art and Curriculum, and not only to study, but for our emotional well-being. Yeah, it's a really big deal. And again, we can't say enough about the arts in school and how we need to have the arts in school, how relieving they are. I myself, quick story, with the help of the music teacher at my school, I was playing the guitar a little bit. Yeah, at 62 years old. You never stop. Dr. Rachel Payne, good morning. Thank you very much.
Good morning.
Enjoy.
Thank you very much, Jim. I'm just going to share my screen, so bear with me just a moment. Okay, that should be coming up. There we go. Lovely. Okay, folks, we're going to start off with a little activity, so we're going to get straight into it. I would like you to make sure that you've got something to write on, something to write with, and something to take a photo with. So this is a bit of an interactive kind of participatory start to the session. It's really important that you have a go. I know that when you're on at a conference and you're engaging via Zoom or hop in as we are today, that you may not really want to have a go, and it's easy not to have a go. But I really want you to actually engage with this, because it's the experience that's important. It isn't about what you produce, it's the fact that you have a go. Okay. What you do create today is completely private. You don't have to share it unless you want to. If you do want to share it, you can see that there's a hashtag, the conference hashtag, up on the slide. Please use that and upload anything that you want to Twitter from this session. Okay, so we're going to start with a question. The question that's up on the slide. How are you feeling today? I want you to write down a response to this question. It could be a word, it could be a sentence, it could be a couple of words. It's whatever you want it to be, okay? And it's describing how you feel right here, right now. I don't want you to think too hard about it. I want you to be spontaneous. I want you to write down the first thing that pops into your mind. Okay. Now that you've had an opportunity to respond in writing, this is the hard bit. I want you to respond by taking a photo. Okay, so I want you to take a photo using your phone or a tablet that represents the word or the sentence that you've just written down. Alternatively, you could find a photo that might fit your caption. Again, I don't want you to think about it too hard. In true Blue Peter style, I've had a go at this, so I've got some examples to show you while you're having a think about this, about your own response. So when I was thinking about this last week, when I was planning this, the first thing I thought of, how do I feel right now, was actually, I'm pretty exhausted. Working in the pandemic is really hard work. Working in education in the pandemic is really hard work. I haven't got my annual leave until August. And yeah, what would I like to do? I'd like to sleep for several days. So my first thought was, I'm really exhausted. The next thing I thought about when I was taking these photos was that actually my motivation levels are pretty low. I thought I'd include a nice pun for you. I really enjoy my work. I'm an academic at Oxford Brookes, but the majority of my work during the pandemic has been virtual. I haven't been working on campus for the majority of my time, and not having physical interaction with my colleagues actually is really, really hard, and it is really quite demotivating. So that was my second image. My third image was in relation to my experience of when I do go onto campus. So when I do go and I do teach face-to-face, unlike in school where you are engaging with people on a daily basis, for me it's very much a different experience going onto campus because I do it so rarely. And my experience is inhibited by university regulations and safe working and wearing PPE. And this is my normal teaching outfit, which is, you know, pretty tricky because it fogs up within the first 5 minutes and I can't see anything for the rest of the session. So those were my 3 responses of how I am feeling. I hope that you have been able to respond with something that is immediate and genuine and authentic to you. I'm going to ask you to respond to a second question now, which is, what are you grateful for? I want you to write down an expression of thanks. And this time, instead of being really spontaneous and immediate and intuitive, I want you to think carefully about the context for your response. Is this personal, or is it professional, or is it where the two meet? I want you to, once you've had an opportunity to write down your expression of thanks, I want you to repeat the exercise and take a photograph. Take a photograph that links your gratitude, represents your gratitude in visual form. What I want you to do is to keep hold of these photos and these captions, and we will return to them throughout the session. And as with the previous activity, I've also had a go at it, so I can show you some of my examples as well. So the first one is that I would like to express gratitude for being given the opportunity to come and talk to you today. What you're seeing here is a photo, it's be double time, is a photo of me on Zoom in my room where I work the majority of my time, which is my experience of working in lockdown since March 2020. So I'm grateful for being here today. I'm also grateful for my working environment. So not just, so beyond the space, my office that I'm working in today. When I was thinking about this, it led me on to consider the implications of my professional world and how it has changed so spectacularly since March last year. And so if I think about this question in a broader way, I'm deeply grateful for having a garden at the back of my house, which helps me cope with the pandemic. It's become a refuge. It's a place where I retreat after a hard day's work. It helps me switch off. Now, hopefully you've had an opportunity to respond to these 2 questions and to think a little bit about you and your experience. Now, why am I asking you to do this? Well, I want you to respond to your feelings, to your experiences, to your environment by making something, by thinking through making. This is important because what I'm talking about today relates as much to you and your staff as it does to your children in your school. Whilst I'm going to refer to art and design specifically, what I'm talking about could actually relate to any kind of arts activity, whether that's dance, music, drama, film, poetry, animation, anything that involves the creation of something new. I think that this is one reason why the arts are so powerful in the curriculum. Learning through and with the arts supports the reproduction of knowledge. So learning about existing knowledge, artists, designers, makers, dancers, whoever it happens to be, as well as providing people with an opportunity to develop new knowledge, to explore, to discover. And this means that by making or doing something creative and new, people are given the opportunity to also learn about themselves and their environment and their context. And this is the case for all human beings, whatever age they are. In this session, I'm interested in examining how educators can use the arts to help combat children and young people's stress and anxiety in uncertain times. However, I do think this links very nicely to what Dame Alison Peacock has just been talking about in terms of looking about developing a listening school, about putting empathy and compassion first, about creating shared identities and sense of belonging. The arts can really help generate these experiences for everybody within a school environment. But I'm going to talk about how learners are better equipped to address mental health issues and face adversity as a result of studying the arts, and how if we provide opportunity for learners to communicate their experiences through the arts, then we as educators have a responsibility to listen. They may say things that we don't want to hear, for example. They may say things that make things more difficult, but it is important that we listen nonetheless. However, I do want to make clear that I'm not saying that the arts' main purpose in schools is to support mental health and well-being. I'm not advocating that the arts are delivered for therapeutic reasons only. I think that that undermines their intrinsic values. The arts are important in their own right. I'm really happy to come back and talk about that another day, but that's not the focus of today's session. So before I move on, I want you to return to the activities that we did at the beginning of the session. I want you to spend a couple of minutes reflecting on your experiences of taking those photos and of responding to the 2 questions. How are you feeling today, and what are you grateful for? What did it feel like to be asked to participate in this activity? What did it feel like to have to be put on the spot, to have to make a response? Did it feel risky? Was it uncomfortable? Was it revealing? Was it enjoyable? Did it make you curious or to think in a different way? I want you to be honest with yourself. And then I want you to consider why you might have had the reaction that you did. So the arts can have a significant impact from the point at which the child is born. For example, art, craft and singing activities can help mothers overcome postnatal depression and promote parent and child bonding. The Creative Health and Inquiry report presented to the government in 2017 indicates that the arts can have a significant impact on early years education, that it recommends the arts as a form of evidence-based and cost-effective treatment for childhood behavioural problems and conduct disorders. Trauma in early life results in poor regulation of emotions, aggressive behaviour and diminished empathy. We can see that the arts and education helps provide opportunities that have the potential to literally change lives. For example, in early childhood, engagement in music, dance, drama, visual arts and crafts all linked to socio-emotional development. They help children to regulate their behaviour, supporting positive peer interaction, collaboration, negotiation and communication. They support children and young people to develop a sense of self-worth and promote behaviour change and healthy lifestyles. The arts provide a safe environment for children and young people to express traumatic experiences. The Cultural and Learning Alliance 2017 Imagination Report highlights how cultural learning plays a vital role in addressing inequalities in educational attainment and health arising from children being brought up in poverty. And as we know, poverty is exacerbated through the pandemic. This is substantiated by an Australian study which found that when the arts are implemented with a structured, innovative and long-term approach, it can improve school attendance, it can have a dramatic impact on academic achievement across the curriculum, as well as supporting social and emotional well-being. So how do the arts support young people's mental health and well-being? So they can create, to create something can assist in emotional regulation. There was a really interesting report that came out in 2019, which was a collaboration between University College London and the BBC. And they examined how engaging in creative activities can really help us cope with modern life. And again, that's anybody, that's not just children, we're talking about everyone here. So they found some of the key findings were that when we engage in a creative act, it holds our attention and it stops us thinking about other things. In that way, it helps to reduce stress and anxiety. So it acts as a distraction tool. It takes us away from those stresses, anxieties, and problems that we're dealing with on a daily basis. It also gives us space to reflect, to be in a state where we aren't being analytical, where we aren't being overtly intellectual or cognitive, but where we're allowing things to come to a surface when they're ready. So this is a very different way of experiencing, of being, of learning. There's also a lot of problem solving involved in arts activities. So for example, how might I represent a tree that's blowing in the wind through dance? Or how can I represent happiness through the color yellow? This involves combining cognition and emotion together to communicate something new to the learner. So being in a reflexive space supports understandings in other parts of our lives, as well as we may link experiences together beyond the immediate learning task. So the more that we are able to articulate our experiences, our feelings, and our places in the world, the more confident we become. This confidence moves beyond the experience of learning in and through the arts and extends to other parts of our lives, to other parts of children's lives, and to other parts of the curriculum. So how does it work? Well, when we engage in arts-based activities, we tend to learn together, which reduces anxiety and stress. This encourages motivation and curiosity in the learning process. But we could say this about learning across many different curriculum subjects and use this argument for learning in person rather than online. So what is it about learning in and through the arts that supports such a range of educational benefits? Because there's room for personal interpretation, there is opportunity for the maker to communicate things that are important to them. In the same way that you selected the focus for your photos and your captions this morning, you're communicating things that are important to you. This provides the maker to articulate different experiences to their peers. It values their social and personal relationships as well as their academic experiences. This helps children to stop, reassess, and to build self-image, which leads to self-acceptance, to increased confidence, to enacting one's agency. To achieve this, the learning process supports children to embrace vulnerability and risk in a safe way. When we feel more confident in our own position, we want to engage in educational dialogue with others about our experiences, our new knowledge, our curiosity. One thing I would highlight here is the importance of learning with the right equipment and resources. This, together with teachers' confidence in subject knowledge, contributes hugely to the quality of the learning experiences. I recently did a project with a group of further education art and design students back in the spring, and with a master potter, Keith Brymer-Jones, which was a very exciting experience. And the young people were talking to Keith about their experiences of loss as a result of the first lockdown, actually. And they talked specifically about their loss of access to classrooms, their loss of access to teachers during that first lockdown, that contributed to a mourning of the loss of community and spaces to make together. It was these physical environments and these social relationships, that the lack of these social relationships, that in turn inhibited the quality of their learning. Now, this does imply that teachers need to be skilled. I would argue that subject-specific CPD is vital in supporting teachers to feel confident about what they're delivering, to consider how to deliver and assess it effectively, and to articulate children's progression in the subject. This also helps provide curriculum ideas. However, I would also concur with the BBC and UCL report that actually skill level isn't the most important thing. It's less to do with how well we're able to make something. It's the act of making that's important. And I would say that in terms of the experience I asked you to engage with today, it may be that part of, if it made you feel uncomfortable, it was partly because it was out of your comfort zone. It was something you didn't feel very confident with, that you didn't have a high skill level in. But actually, it doesn't matter. The skill level in this context is not the relevant thing. So teachers' confidence and willingness to have a go with the children is far more important. The more teachers and children engage in creative acts, the greater benefits for all. At this point, I'd like to flag these amazing resources. So I am the immediate past president for NSEAD, who is the National Society for Education in Art and Design. And if you don't know us, we are the National Subject Association for Art, Craft and Design. We support teachers from early years all the way up to teacher training. And we have created a whole series of resources and opportunities for teachers at all levels to support them with these tricky times. So, for example, we partnered with Oak National Academy to produce some really excellent resources for Key Stage 1 and 2. I have to say the Key Stage 3 resources we weren't involved with and aren't so great, but the primary work is fantastic. These were created by with leading professionals, both academics and classroom teachers, and they are absolutely superb, and they're free access through the website. We also very recently revised 4 guides together with the Arts Council England to support advocacy and to support governing boards in schools to support arts, culture and creativity. And these are for the visual arts, for music and dance. And if you Google NSEAD, you'll be able to find access to these documents, and they really help you develop the arts in your curriculum. So to finish, I want to return to the activities that I asked you to engage with at the beginning of the session. And I want you to reflect on what you have learned from engaging in the activities that you might have missed out on if you hadn't participated. Why was the experience of participating so important? I also want you to consider why it's important to support the arts in your school, what you need to do to elevate their status. Who do you need to elevate their status for? Is it just the children, or would your staff also benefit from engaging in arts-related activities too? And finally, I want to leave you with 2 projects that you could immediately take into your school and run. And they form the basis of the 2 photo activities that I asked you to engage with. So what I asked you to do is something that you could then take into your classrooms. The first is a show and tell project that was developed by the photography movement. I'm just going to quote their website. They said, at the height of the COVID-19 pandemic, we invited 10 to 18-year-olds from across the UK to watch the show and tell workshop films, to practice their new mindful photography skills and bring their emotions to life with a photograph for the show and tell exhibition. This resulted in a staggering 22,000 submissions, which were received in response to their brief, "How are you feeling?" Every single photo and emotion received was equally valued and important, and you'll find a selection on their website. These extraordinary words and photos are the stories of an endless pandemic and how it really feels to be young in lockdown. You might want to adapt this project for younger years, but it'd be a really interesting opportunity to open up conversations with your staff and students about their experiences of the last 18 months. And the second project, the Gratitude Project, focuses around the artworks of Jenny Lee, who created a body of art called Tokens of Gratitude. And she says on her website, these tokens are like talismans with gratitude. We start with written expressions of thanks. These are then folded up small and stitched into little bundles. It's a little bit of art that you can keep in your pocket or your bag or on your mantelpiece. I would suggest that these are really easy to make in the classroom and could result in a collaborative piece of work or an installation. It could even be a whole school project where you're saying thanks, creating little tokens and attaching them to something like a tree or a wall or a space within the school. Again, these could be delivered across all age groups and include personalized items that the children bring into school. The arts, I'd like to just finish by saying, that the arts provide rich educational experiences for everybody in the school community. They help us express what it means to be human. Good luck with your projects.
Thank you very much. Absolutely fantastic. Yeah, and I buy into a lot of things that you were talking about myself. And I know because I think it's about us, man, and what we bring to it. And like I said, we always, the Robesons, when we leave the house, we don't say have a good day, we say enjoy the process.
Yeah, absolutely.
Things are going to happen during the day, baby. Just enjoy the process, man. That's what you got to do.
I think the arts is all about the process.
Yeah.
It's all about being in the experience, isn't it?
I love it. When we have more time, I like to talk to you because I teach people how to write with 2 hands.
Brilliant.
Yeah, from a creative sense.
Drawings with
yes.
Yeah, absolutely. It's quite tricky.
Thank you so much. Now I'll check with my man Xander to see how we doing. Fantastic. So what I got is a question up here. Is the NSEAD doing politically to promote the importance of the arts in the curriculum?
That's a good question. Since March last year, NSEAD General Secretary Michelle Gregson has been sitting on the DFE twice weekly COVID group briefings, and so we're absolutely at the heart of conversations with government, and we've been supporting them in terms of and supporting them to develop particular opportunities in the curriculum for schools, for teachers. So we've been very much at the heart of conversations about a COVID recovery, and linked to that, we've developed a whole series of resources that are available on our website for people that are working across all phases of education. I mean, just go on our website and have a look. We are a member association, and there is opportunity for schools to join as whole schools, but equally some of our resources are free access as well. So we've been very clear that we also do a lot of CPD opportunities, and these are free access for people as well. So there's, there's something for everybody at every phase. So yeah, we're working really hard lobbying the government. We also we have an all-party parliamentary group where we meet once a term, and we raise very key issues, and through that it enables us to be able to raise questions in the House of Commons and the House of Lords. So actually we're a really political movement in the sense that we're really lobbying the government to support and champion the arts in education. I'm not sure how successful we are.
Yeah. But you're hanging out with the movers and the shakers. And eventually,
we're trying very hard. Yeah, we're working.
Eventually,
really hard.
We will move it. We will get there.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Hey, I got one more question for you. Very interesting. Thank you. How can we reach teachers who might not be interested in art-related activities at first glance? Are teachers generally developing this set of skills on a voluntary basis at the moment?
Yeah, that's a great. Those are some really interesting and important questions. I think, in terms of how we get teachers to engage, it's providing opportunities where they can engage with activities a bit like we did today. So things that are actually very easy to access, that are linked to very clear projects that could then be taken into the classroom, that can actually help them develop their confidence. I would, but they're not going to be able to engage with those kinds of activities unless they have opportunity to go to have CPD. So it's important that teachers, even if it's, you have one person within the school who has, you allow them to have opportunity to engage in CPD activities that they can then go back into school and cascade to the rest of the staff. I think it might well be that there's somebody within the school who's really interested in the arts, in which case enabling them to go out on CPD and then asking them to come and bring it back and support teachers within the school. That's a good way of doing it, I would say.
Fantastic. Dr. Rachel Payne, thank you. You tried to trick me with that Rachel Payne without the doctor in front. I caught on to that. Yeah, but thank you so much for your time this morning. Thank you for getting the show rolling. And like you said, everything tied in with Dame Allison Peacock.
Yeah.
We're on the roll this morning. Yeah. Thank you so much, and have an absolutely fantastic day.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, just to let everybody know, folks, that we'll have a short break now. Yeah, have a short break and come back to you. If at any point your screen goes blank or something like that, folks, just go to the tab and click any tab, and it'll bring you back to stage. All right? Thank you very much, and I hope you're enjoying this morning. Thank you.